WWE Clash at the Castle Scotland is this Saturday, ladies and gentlemen. Will Drew McIntyre walk away as World Heavyweight Champion, as you see on that thumbnail? That is going to be the big talking point of this video. Myself and Nick Steve are in-house, going to give you our full predictions of the show. Let's go for the match card very quickly here today. Of course, the order will be doing the matches as well. Clash at the Castle Scotland, we'll see Cody Rhodes defend the undisputed WWE Championship against AJ Styles. We've got the Women's Tag Team Championships on the line in a triple threat match. Bianca, Belair and Jade Cargill going against Shayna, Baszler, Zoey Stark, along with Alba, Fyre and Isla Dawn. We've got the Intercontinental Championship on the line. Sami Zayn versus Chad Gable. I'm sure the Alpha Academy will be not far behind either. We've got Bayley versus Piper Niven, and I expect Chelsea Green will also be in town for this one. And yes, as mentioned at the very start there, Drew McIntyre looking to win the World Heavyweight Championship from Damien Priest. All that and so much more to discuss on this video. And Steve, welcome to the video. Hope you are doing well. And I suppose I should start with the first question of which match you're most looking forward to.
I mean, it kind of has to be Drew, really, doesn't it? I think he's kind of like hometown hero, the one that everyone wants to win. Otherwise, I actually am quite looking forward to Cody versus AJ, just because it's an I Quit match, and we don't get very many of them these days. So it's going to be fun to see how that's done.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, with the Cody AJ one, I have a feeling that will be, I thought that would be match of the night, if I'm going to be honest with you, when it comes to, when you look at the matches on paper. But like you say, there has to be the buzz here, saying, will Drew McIntyre walk away? I was going to start off the video this way. We've been here before, Clash of the Castle. There's only been one previously, and Drew was going for that championship. You was at that show. Of course, it was in Cardiff, Wales, of course, as well. And he didn't get the job done. Of course, he would have got the job done if it wasn't for that new head of the bloodline, Solo Sikoa. But hey, this time, there's no Judgment Day at ringside, but let's not stop anybody else. We'll talk about that later on in the video. But also, what would be your excitement levels between 1 and 10 for Clash of the Castle Scotland?
I'm going to say a modest 7, I believe, because I don't think a lot of results are going to go how I want them to go. So I'm just going to say a 7 for me.
Yeah, I kind of feel in the sort of same middle of the road. I think some matches of this show are predictable. Not that that's a bad thing. I think sometimes predictability can be a good thing because it means the storyline makes sense. However, I do feel that, like you say, there may be a couple of upset people during the show in places, but that's not to say not all of the home country people will not walk away with championships. Potentially one may do, but which one will it be? We'll talk about it as we go through the matches on this video. But thanks to everyone that is watching so far. And just a quick shout out to the YouTube side. First off, thank you for joining us here today. Hope you're keeping well. Make sure to like the video, share it with a friend, and subscribe to the channel as well. And only 6 subscribers away from I believe the current milestone will be 2,400 subs, so please get us to that milestone. And of course, for those that are watching on X, thank you for joining us as well. Hope you're doing well. Make sure if you enjoyed, hit the like or the heart and retweet as well. Send some love and let us know what you think as well with your thoughts on the show, perhaps in the tweets, or you can hop over on the YouTube site and get involved on the comments over here. We're going to just get a couple of comments quickly. First off, Robbie Collins in the house. Robbie, Scottish himself, a lot of pride going to this. The Hydro is going to be electric. Robbie, aren't you going to be there? That's probably the one we need to know. He's loving the Scottish flag, by the way, just for you, Rob. We had to do it for this one for Clash in the Castle. Absolutely brilliant stuff indeed. And also, we've been asked here, we've been asked this before, Pierre, but we can answer it in brief for you. Triple H, the thoughts of doing 5 matches for secondary PLEs. I quite like it. It's a bit like the old In Your House style shows from back in the 90s, I think, as well. There seems to be a variety of certain superstars getting a bit of pay-per-view time as well, each and every time. Not always the same faces each and every time, although obviously you will get your main heavy hitters there. But I quite like this format. I think the shows that are perfect length as well, usually.
Yeah, I mean, I've got no problems with it at the minute. It's giving every match the time it needs to breathe. I mean, obviously, on occasion we do get maybe a 6th match thrown in somewhere, maybe a kickoff show match. But I'm all right with them at the minute, especially with the fact that we get so many so often. Like, I think we've got one every sort of 3 weeks now, up until I think just after SummerSlam, and it's kind of like you could feel really oversaturated if they were throwing 7-8 matches on a show, and then this every 3 weeks you've got a pay-per-view. So at the minute, I think it's very nicely balanced.
I think so as well. I like the way they have been doing it for the time being. But PS says, I'm excited for the I Quit match. We can see a side of Cody Rhodes we've never seen before. It's an interesting way to take for it there. Sid asking us, do we think Joe Hendry? I believe I won't do the rest. Yeah, seeing will he show up as he's Scottish? Unfortunately, I don't think it's likely as the fact that he's going to be taking part for TNA Against All Odds, which is on the same weekend. I think the show, if I'm not mistaken, is on Friday. There is time to fly him over, but I think it's unlikely.
Yeah, it's a shame, but never say never. Like I think we've been in this situation before where we don't expect someone to show up and they still show up. I mean, there is such a thing as a red eye flight, so there is a possibility, although it just is very, very small.
Absolutely indeed. The WrestleMania UK in the house specs. Thanks for joining us. The thumbnail already has McIntyre with the title. Is this a prediction show or a spoiler show? I like where you're going with that. Well, I suppose it's a tease of what could be the future. Might not necessarily be one or either of our predictions, but it's a good way to get people clicking, hopefully. I want to try something different with the thumbnail this time around. But Robbie will unfortunately not be there, unfortunately, with the Euros going on as well. Of course, there's soccer for those in America, football for us on this side of the world. Of course, the Euros has started, or will be starting on Friday, so yes, a lot going on indeed. But we're not going to waste any time. We'll get straight into the first match. So try and keep on with us with the comments if you want to on the match we're talking about. We'll give you a shout out. And of course, if you're watching on X, get involved as well on the YouTube side. We recommend you come over and hop over. But the first match we're going to talk about then is going to be Cody Rhodes against AJ Styles, the I Quit match for the Undisputed WWE Championship, of course. So AJ Styles pretty much had a fantastic match against Cody at Backlash. Of course, that was in April, or yeah, I think it was in April, start of May, either or. Yeah, I mean, it was a great match, but AJ Styles then had to go to the back of the line, of course. Cody Rhodes would go on to new challenges. AJ Styles wanted one more opportunity. Nick Aldis said, look, as much as he wants to give him that, he couldn't do that. So AJ Styles pretty much had to work his way from the bottom. And AJ Styles said, look, I can't do that. This stage of my life, on stage of my career, I'm not going to do that. So I think he had a word with Mark Henry. I think that's pretty much where this is. It's unconfirmed, but pretty much what Mark Henry did to John Cena back in 2013 is exactly what's happened here. Instead of it being a salmon suit, though, it was a baby light blue suit for us here. And AJ Styles come out, give the big rah-rah speech, had the Good Brothers come out there, was a big, goodbye. Cody Rhodes had been invited out as well. And just when you thought the show was about to end, AJ Styles had a big attack on Cody Rhodes. And of course, that led to Cody Rhodes wanting revenge as well. And of course, this past week on SmackDown, not only did AJ get the match he wanted, he got an I Quit match as well, which, let's be fair, is an interesting stipulation, like you said, Alex, Steve. Your thoughts of this one?
Yeah, I mean, I think we had this conversation before where we said, like, what's going to be next for Cody, because there isn't a standout number one competitor at the minute on that SmackDown brand. So we've said it before, and was just like debating who or what can they do to try and promote someone to be his next challenger. And I think they've done this so well and built this properly. And I think we even suggested doing AJ again as well in a previous show that we talked on, just because it was such a good match the last time that if we got this again, I wouldn't complain. And now the fact that they've got this I Quit stipulation in there as well, I just think he's going to be really good. I mean, dude, if I was a brave man, I'd even go as far as to say that AJ would probably win this, because I think Cody needs something, because since he's won at Mania, he's kind of just sort of existed and just had interactions with people, and it's good to see someone get one up on Cody finally. And do you know what I mean? If they got to Saturday night and decided they maybe wanted to flip the title, it would be crazy. But it's WWE, and I'm not expecting the impossible of that to happen. But do you know, I just think at the minute some titles are a bit. It's almost like you said at the start. It's very predictable, some of the results, and I was sitting there thinking it's like it'd be nice to get some upsets or some shock somewhere. And you know what I mean? I wouldn't be against seeing AJ pick this title up.
I wouldn't be against it either. I want to see AJ have one more run. And to be honest, the part of me wondered this would go all the way to a trilogy, because I just felt to myself, like, Cody had this time last year. Everyone thought it was a bit lost after WrestleMania. Not this big story, not come up yet. And obviously, we imagine one will probably come up for SummerSlam. Obviously, Money in the Bank is the show that follows this. And, AJ Styles almost feels like the Brock Lesnar of last year is what I think I'm trying to say, and probably in a bad way. But at the same time, I'm pleased that they are doing the match one more time because I'm a big AJ fan. I thought the last match was awesome, but I also feel that this time this match has stakes. Everything that everyone was probably complaining about with Cody's title run is like, we've got matches just given to us. Well, actually here, there was a storyline put in place here at this point with this one. It feels a lot more personal. My only gripe, actually, and you said you really like this, and I really like the match stipulation, but my gripe is that match stipulation because for me, it takes all the doubt away of how this result is going to be, because unless this is like a Rock of Mankind from Royal Rumble 1999 where there's a tape recorder of Cody saying I quit somewhere, which Mankind had done, and that got played out for the result, there's no way Cody Rhodes is dropping the title here. Like, I mean, AJ Styles, for me, if I had to predict, I think it's timed well in a way that he loses here, because if he can't get the championship match in WWE, if there is this working relationship with TNA, we've seen Jordan Grace, of course, on NXT Battleground, there is an open door in time for Slammiversary for AJ Styles to make an appearance over in TNA and potentially go for the world title over there before he hangs up his boots.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. But the only thing I'm going to say to you is what did Cody say on Friday night? He said the words, I quit. I'm sorry, I could easily go back, screen record that, take it, change it to an audio file. Hey, it's a possibility. It'd be scummy as anything to redo it again after the Mankind one from years ago. But dude, it'd be interesting to see him actually do it. But yeah, it's kind of I'm in the same boat as you. The match itself, it plays well into the story, which is the important part, because obviously with AJ supposedly having to have quit, it kind of really does make sense. But inevitably, I am expecting it to go one way, and that is with Cody Rhodes retaining for me.
Yeah, absolutely. Last question I'm going to ask you before we go to comments and then we go to the following matches, that a lot of people were divided about the AJ Styles segment on SmackDown, where he kind of did the I don't want to say imitation, because obviously it's 13 years later, but obviously, or 11 years later, but Mark Henry obviously did the original segment, John Cena, where he was going to retire and turned on. Some people said, oh, it was so obvious and it was a problem, and, Mark Henry did it better, whatever. But I'm going to be one of those people on the other side of the coin. I actually really enjoyed this segment. I thought it was really well put together. I understand the fact that, yes, it's kind of the same thing as what Mark Henry did all those years ago, but not every WWE fan has been a WWE fan for as long as we have. There's a lot of people that probably been watching for like 5 years or 2 years, or, not very long term. This is new and fresh and exciting for them. And do you reckon it could be a case of, for fans like us who have seen this, and it's not something that's like the Montreal Screwjob that's been done to death. This is like only the first time it's been repeated. Isn't it almost a bit like, well, you might remember this. This is a nod to you people that have been watching for a long time.
That, but also if you're looking at the newer fans, this is a nod to say go back and check out the original. Do you know what I mean? So there is both sides. Both sides benefit from this either way. Like, yes, I think you put it out on X, which was the better one. AJ's on Mark Henry, and I said, look, it's got for me. It's Mark Henry's because you always remember your first. I think is the wording, isn't it? And yeah, I said it's Mark Henry, and like the way he did it, it was just beautifully done. And like the second you see AJ Styles in a baby blue pastel suit, where he's clearly gone to the same tailor as what Mark Henry did, it just screamed repeat of what Mark Henry did. So yeah, like I said, to older fans, it may be an homage, but for younger fans, it's maybe just an excuse to go back and watch how Mark Henry did it.
I said I had one last question. Now I'm going to actually add a further question too, just because it's coming to the brain. But someone else that wears a lot of those type of suits is one Nick Aldis. Do you reckon it could be a secret way that he could be involved with this in any way?
It probably could be Nick Aldis, to be fair, because it didn't look like it fit him. But I like where you're going. But that seems to be, mind you, they're both TNA guys, so maybe there is the possibility that Nick Aldis is helping out AJ. Doesn't make sense. Well, at this present minute, it doesn't make sense. But you never know in the future. They could always make it work.
I mean, with the history they have, Cody and Nick Aldis, if WWE wanted some reference of NWA, I'm not sure they would, but should they ever want to, they could do. They could, if they're doing it with TNA, they could always do partnerships with other people. So it's just an idea to throw out there. I don't think so either, but I thought I'd ask the question as it's there on the table. But we're both going for Cody Rhodes nonetheless. I would be surprised if many others would feel different, but Pierre here says, I think that AJ and Cody will fight in the crowd in this match. Probably one of the matches that's probably safe to fight in the crowd, to be honest with this one. There's 3 matches that I'd recommend, some of the superstars don't. But at the same time, certainly would be fun nonetheless. Nubico says, hello, everyone. Noob, thanks for joining us. Hope you are doing well. We've been asked here from Zayn, and I won't be able to answer this question. Zayn asking, will Crash the Castle be on TNT Sport as well as the WWE Network? And Steve, would that be probably like a pay-per-view, or is it just there to watch?
I believe you'd have to pay for it with TNT Sport, so it'd be like, I don't know, cost me not a long time, maybe £15, I think is what they charge for the pay-per-views over here, maybe that price. Go and buy the network, it's cheaper.
Network all the way. Definitely agree with that. Before we move on to the next match, another comment's come from Zayn. Obviously, he's following Tom Colohue on his channel, does a lot of journalistic work as well as gives his takes on things with pro wrestling as well. Said that apparently Bo Dallas, Nikki Cross will be at Clash of the Castle. Do you think they will show up? I actually want to ask about Nikki Cross because she is Scottish. She's not booked for this show. She's rumoured for the White Six. More interested in Nikki Cross really than Bo Dallas because the rumour for that I've seen is for Monday next week on Raw with the QR codes, but they could turn up, and if so, it'd be a great place for Nikki Cross to turn up because she's Scottish.
Yeah, I mean, I understand why Nikki Cross would be there, but I think the reason why, like, from the impression I got was that the reason why they were doing the White Six thing on Monday was because of the hangover from the international travel, which is why they booked certain people to go to Scotland and some people not. So if you're planning on doing the White Six thing, I find it very strange that Bo and Nikki are going. I could be wrong, but I mean, unless they're there for a reason, for a segment, or for something, I just find it very strange.
I think it's one of those things that could happen. Couldn't for me. I wouldn't want to commit to it. I think that it would be awesome. What if I had to predict one thing for Nikki Cross at this particular time? I would say that she could be to do with the final QR code, and you could just have something visually you could see that could just make everyone kind of in Scotland go, "Wow!" It would be amazing though if she showed up. I'd like to see her show up, but I'm not going to commit to it as I believe the QR codes are suggesting the Raw afterwards, but we'll see. Booking like a mark in the house. Hope you guys are doing well. Says, could we see Cody get some backup to deal with the OC? Of course, we've not even mentioned Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Maybe his old mentor, Randy Orton. I imagine that, well, I mean, like you guys have just said there, the OC probably will get involved in this match somehow. And Randy Orton would be a great person to have an ally, especially say you wanted to do Roddy versus Cody at SummerSlam. Randy, you know, he's a bit of a dastardly one. He could be your best friend for one show, and then he could turn on you the next.
Yeah, just sorry. I was the fact you said roadie. I was like, my brain had to work out what you meant by that. Sorry, I hate to bring it up, but it made me laugh. I was like, who's roadie? But sorry, apologies. Yeah, it's maybe they can do that. This is the thing with this one, the fact that they've got the OC as a potential involvement. This is why I think the finish to this is going to be interesting. And again, if there was going to be a surprise this weekend, I wouldn't be against it being this because I think there is a numbers game there at the minute, and I can't see anyone else on that card that's essentially a backup for Cody Rhodes. So the numbers game is a factor there when it comes to this match, but again, that's why I'm more intrigued about how this one's going to play out and how Cody just plans on getting AJ to say I quit.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting how it's all going to play out. But I think it's a really good question, something to certainly keep an eye out for. Because, like you say, who else would look out for Cody at this point? A lot of people are dealing with the bloodline. Kevin Owens, for example, obviously the Street Profits. We know Lashley's out injured. So Randy would make the most sense, probably. He has been dealing with the bloodline as well. But his last seen appearance was King of the Ring, or King and Queen of the Ring, I should say, but the King of the Ring final with Gunther. So I suppose it could be kind of a bit fresh for him to come back in because he did get the win over Tama Tonga. Triple B in the house, the beautiful bearded bastards. Hope you're doing well. Thanks for joining us. Roger asking if we'll think there'll be any title changes. But now that would be telling Roger, wouldn't it? The video would be finished at this point if we said yes or no, or particularly if we said no anyway. But West Coast Podcast are in house. Says, guys, got to say, non-US shows are becoming the most exciting ones of the year. I mean, they certainly have been really exciting. And obviously, we've heard how great France were. Obviously, it was a loud crowd. Scotland, I imagine, is going to be rivaling that crowd. I mean, they're quite a loud and rowdy bunch, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, I imagine this will probably be better than what the Wales crowd was, just for the fact that there's so much talent on there that is from Scotland. Like, obviously, Drew got a massive reaction when he was there. So did Sheamus. But dude, you've got what 4 superstars, like potentially more. You never know. Like other people exist in WWE that are from Scotland, like you said a minute ago. Nikki Cross, Gallus boys. You know what I mean? Who knows? But there is going to be a massive. This is going to be huge this weekend for the Scottish wrestlers.
Absolutely. The thing that we, not mentioned on this card, we've already talked about Gallus as well, Nikki Cross, and from TNA, we've had Joe Henry mentioned as well. He just goes to show that there could be a lot of big pops and a lot of excitement for this show. But we've already, like you say, got 3 Scottish involved in championship matches as well. So it's going to be exciting to see how it will go down. But certainly, they are very exciting shows. Always excited to see what's coming next. Obviously, we've got Germany to look forward to later this year as well. And of course, Canada hosting Money in the Bank. And we'll move on in the meantime now to our second match to go through on the show. We'll try and get through some comments that I have missed as we go through as well. But the women's tag team championships are on the line. We've got Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill going against Shayna Baszler and Zoey Stark, of course, along with Scotland's own Alba, Fyre, and Isla Dawn. So the best way to kind of and say how this match has been put together is the fact that Zoey Stark and Shayna Baszler became the number 1 contenders for these tag team titles, got their championship match, but then Alba, Fyre, and Isla Dawn got involved. They sort of made it a screwy finish. They also got in the faces backstage of Baszler and Stark and said that Baszler and Stark had claimed to have beaten every team, but they'd not beaten them. Well, we can change that after Raw this past week. They won in 2.5 minutes. Not the best way to put Fyre and Dawn in for this match on Saturday, but to keep it short and brief, because I'm going to keep it short and brief, I don't see Bianca Belair and Jade Cargill losing these tag team titles for a while. Shayna Baszler has just lost to Lola Vice in NXT Underground. Yes, she looks strong on Raw, but I don't think she'll be taking the pinfall here. Scotland's own Fyre and Dawn, fantastic for them. They're on this show, but I don't see them winning it. And the fact they lost on Raw makes me think Zoey Stark is the one taking the pinfall.
See, I like your thinking, but then my logic was we've just seen Shayna Baszler take a loss at Battleground with us presuming what was meant to be some sort of concussion-based injury, kayfabe and all that kind of stuff. That's why I'm going with an Alba Dawn and an Alba Fyre and an Isla Dawn win, because someone from Scotland's got to win tonight. You're gonna protect your tag team champions if they're not involved in the pinfall. So I'm gonna go with the Scottish girls win, and I'm gonna say Shayna Baszler gets pinned.
Interesting. Well, it could be Piper Niven. It could win the women's championship. It could be Drew that wins the World Heavyweight Championship. But first, true, yeah. Scottish talent mentioned, and you've gone for the Scots to win. And I'll tell you what, I think it would be sensible for someone to definitely win some gold on this show. And to be fair, I think that these two have been unfortunately neglected on WWE TV for far too long. I think that they're well overdue a bit of time to be on TV, and it's good to see them back on. They haven't won a match since May last year. So, I mean, they're due, aren't they?
The point is, it's tag team wrestling, and tag team wrestling, you don't need momentum with tag team wrestling. Tag team wrestling is always about the hot tag. It's all about one-upsmanship. It's about distractions and all that kind of stuff. So they can easily walk into this match and walk out tag team champions. It's the same with any tag team match, regardless of how long your reign's been, whether it's been 60 minutes or whether it's been 60 days or 600 days. Tag team wrestling is just that way for me. And that's why I said the potential is there. And that's why I'm going to go with the Scottish girls to win, just on the basis of what you said. They've barely been used. They've been repackaged so many times. I think they really need something just to give them some momentum and keep them on TV. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they win and then at some point within the next week they lose them again, but it will be something for them.
Absolutely. And do you know what? I hope you're right, because Belair and Cargill are not involved in the decision. You get that back over to US soil, they could win it back, but I don't see it happening. That's just me. I don't see it happening for the girls, unfortunately. But let's go into the comments.
At least we've got different opinions. It's nice that sometimes we don't have the same answers. Normally we pick the same answers all throughout the show. So the fact that I've gone with something different, I think is fresh.
We're trying to keep it interesting. Nubico says Shayna is eating another loss 2 weeks in a row. Would be a shame for her if that is the case. But yeah, could be losing 2 pillies in a row. Just put the titles in Alba and Isla right now, says Noob. There we go. No, Sid, I did not hear of that information. That would be very sad if it is. But as I'm not sure of what you're saying, if true or false, I'm not putting it on the screen. WrestleMania UK says having Isla Dawn and Alba Fyre lose on Raw on Monday was a stupid decision. You forced them, force a team in this match because they're Scottish, and then you make them lose after not seeing them wrestle since May 2023. Yeah, I completely agree. I would have had them win. I think it would not have hurt on Raw last night to have had 2 separate tag team matches and both teams pick up some momentum going into the match with Belair and Cargill. That's just me. But hey, sometimes losing on the show before can do well for you on the PLE.
Whether it's, like I said, it's tag team wrestling, and these things just can happen. Like I said, regardless of, and the fact that it's a triple threat as well, and whenever they do triple threats, it's normally in there to protect someone. And hey, who are you going to protect in this match? Your tag team champions, which is why I reckon that we're going to get fresh champions this weekend. Interesting stuff indeed. A couple of random questions then before we move on to our next match. Sid asking, do you think Tyson Fury will show up like he did at Wales Clash in the Castle? Oh dear Lord, I hope not. Oh God, no, I hope not. Apparently, I was hearing today that Drew was he was really upset about that from Clash because he didn't realize they were still on the air, and apparently it was a big production hoo-ha. Yeah, please don't do that again. I'd already left the building by the time that was going on, and I was like, I'm glad that I didn't stay for that because that was bad. That was cringe.
It was, and to be fair, I'm not a big fan of American Pie either. Just controversial, but that's me. Roger says, would you like to see a WWE versus TNA show? I would be down for that if they ever did it at one point, like a Worlds Collide, if you want.
Yeah, I mean, dude, it's a perfect example. Worlds Collide. There's something to go alongside the Rumble next year. I'd really look forward to that.
If anyone's interested, I've actually done a video of NXT versus TNA, and that's actually available on the channel right now. But stick around with us for the time being, and yeah, we can watch it afterwards if you want. But we'll move on to the meantime to another match for the Intercontinental Championship. Sami Zayn defending against Chad Gable. Master Gable with the Alpha Academy, I'm sure, will be present as well. Of course, that's mainly where. We've been talking on this channel for a long time. Obviously, for those on X, probably haven't been following our, but we've been talking about Chad Gable having the IC title and a new group since before WrestleMania. We've been talking about it for a long time. But instead of going from where we've been, I think we should take the ingredients of what we've got for the here and now for these next couple of storyline beats, because we predicted a whole story that Triple H, I think, is telling over a course of about 5 months. So I think rather than tell the same song and dance, we just go to where we are and see the next beat, because Chad Gable obviously has been quite brilliantly doing amazing with this heel character, been bullying his own group to the point that he's almost threatening them to walk out on him, especially after Otis screwed up at King and Queen of the Ring. It's particularly Otis who's getting a lot of love from the crowd who want to see him turn on Chad Gable. And Sami Zayn's been calling, he's been preaching, look, I've had this with the bloodline, but now, I had my reasons for it, and I know now that I've got a way that was the right thing. You need to find your reasons to get away from this. But of course, every time that Sami Zayn's got involved, eventually, even if Otis has not wanted to, he's laid out Sami Zayn. Of course, not in the case, though, with a match on Raw last night, which Sami did pick up the victory. But what are your thoughts with how the story's been over the last 3 weeks with Sami Zayn, Chad Gable, and the Alpha Academy?
I think this is some of the greatest stuff I think Chad Gable's ever done. And my biggest problem is his contract situation. Because for me, this is what ruins this match this weekend. Because unless between now and Saturday, he signs a new contract, I can only see this going one way. And this is the thing that's really ruining the story for me. Because everything's been great. Otis is getting that massive babyface pop. And the fact that this week he talked about Tucky and Mandy Rose, and the fact that they paid homage to everything that he's done since he's been on the main roster, just great. What a way to build a real baby face out of Otis once again. And Harry just feels like Maxine and Tozawa like his brother and his sister. Just some great stuff. And obviously Chad Gable doing his great heel stuff. The fact that he cowered when Otis was, you know what I mean, on the verge of hitting him, and then obviously he turns around and destroys Sami. Dude, this is just some great storytelling, but it's overshadowed. And this is my biggest gripe, is that this contract situation, that like they've let this go on literally the last week, because unless he signs between now and Saturday, I know the result of this match, and that's what's ruining it for me. Because as much as I want to see Chad Gable win this match and become IC title, but you know, justice for Chad Gable, I've been saying it for months. It's just really overshadowed, and that's the problem with it. Is this? It's ruining the story for me because of it.
I agree. I the thing is, I want to say it's ruining the story for me because I believe he's going to sign. I do believe he's going to sign.
I believe he is as well. Yeah.
But the thing is that we've predicted this, and I think now everyone. It's not like it's one YouTube channel. Every YouTuber out there is predicting the same outcome at the end now. Chad Gable wins the IC title, has the Gree brothers, has I forget a name now off the top of my head at the moment. It's Ivy Nile, that's the one, as the new group going forward. But to get there, the contract needs to be signed. Chad Gable's story could abruptly end this weekend if he doesn't re-sign and he is going to leave the company. But I'm not convinced that's going to happen. But I do feel, and what I will say is that the story beat currently is not about a new group for Chad Gable. He's still with the old, and that needs to be broken away first before we get to the new. I think it would be a bit silly to, I mean, it'd be very clever from Chad Gable if he has got backup policy of this is going to go wrong and I can see it's going to go wrong, so I have the new people already lined up, you're going to get involved here. But I don't think that's going to happen like that. I can see something on this show that the Alpha Academy are going to come at ringside, they're going to watch Chad at work, they're going to have the plan in place, and Sami Zayn's words are going to finally sink in. And I think one by one, the Alpha Academy are going to walk out on Chad Gable. I think Maxine's going to be the first. Probably walkout could be difficult for her at the minute with the leg brace, but she'll go. I think Akira Tozawa was next, and I think Otis is the last one to stick around. I think it's going to sort of build that tension if Otis is going to get involved or doesn't get involved, and I think that obviously probably get a ref bump. And I think once that happens, I can then see Otis then choosing not to side with Gable, and I think he actually. I think I think the hit has to happen on Gable because people want to see Gable get a clock for his money. And I think you could see Otis do the worm as well, just for good measure, and that get even more of a super pop. At that point, then you can see Sami do a haluva kick and get the 1, 2, 3. And I think Sami will retain the championship here. And I think this would happen regardless of whether Gable signs or not. But I think he will sign. And yeah. I think after that, I think it leaves Chad Gable open then to say, I don't have a group. These people cost me and they got in my way 2 shows in a row, and this is why I should get one more chance.
Yeah, but then, see, this is why I go back to my problem with this contract is that come Monday, if your scenario, for example, plays out, come Monday, I'm going to want to see Chad Gable take on Otis. That's a story that needs to conclude. And if it comes out, say, Sunday afternoon that Chad Gable isn't re-signing, they've done all this story for nothing. The only payoff is that Otis, Tozawa, and Maxine turned on Chad Gable. And in no disrespect, they're not exactly pushing for the top of the card at the minute. They're not planning on main event in WrestleMania, these 3. And it's kind of, all you've done is essentially just elevate mid-carders in the politest terms. You've elevated mid-carders for no reason, because there's no payoff. Like, yes, we got the Otis, we'd get the Otis striking Gable moment, but you would need to have, for me, you need a decisive moment where Otis beats Chad in a match, or Chad beats Otis, or do you know what I mean? Something where we prolong this story of Chad Gable becoming IC champion. And yeah, that's why it bums me out. Like, I'm the same as you. I expect him to re-sign, but until he re-signs, do you know what I mean? I can't look forward. Well, of course I can look forward to matches, but I can't look forward to story development because I don't know if Chad Gable's going to be here next week. And then until he officially signs, he could have already signed. This could be the biggest ploy in the world. He could do a CM Punk. He could win that IC title, sit on the barrier, kiss Otis and everyone goodbye, and just leave for the IC title. And everyone's going to think, "Oh my God, he's a free agent. He's just won the IC title. What does this mean? Let me tune in Monday." It could be great TV, but unfortunately, we have the dirt sheets nowadays, and more likely than anything, these rumors get leaked. So I would expect that someone out there would already know if Chad Gable's re-signed or not.
Yeah, I imagine someone would. I imagine if the news does break, but we'll have to wait and see. The only thing I would say as an answer to that, and play the other side, if Chad was to leave, they'll want to write it off. They'll want to finish the story properly. I mean, they've written Ricochet off this week. We expect for good. I've seen them coming about Ricochet, and if he's leaving, if it's best when he's betting on himself, fantastic. Wish him the best of luck because he's done great stuff before WWE. Was a fan of his before WWE. I'll continue to be a fan of his after WWE, wherever he goes. The only thing I don't want to see is Samantha Irving going out the door as well, because I can see Ricochet perform everywhere. Yes, we can see her announced everywhere, but you know what I mean? It's just very special with the talent that's in WWE. It enhances some of those shows, especially Monday Night Raw right now. But either way, Chad Gable would probably lose to Otis, and I would expect it to be in the Money in the Bank qualifier if that was to be the case to close things off, or you do it in Money in the Bank and then he's off. But I don't know. I don't know.
Do you know what as well?
Not happy either way.
What did Otis say this Monday as well? What did he specifically talk about?
Money in the Bank.
Losing the Money in the Bank contract. Are you telling me Otis is winning Money in the Bank again?
No,
please, for the love of God, dude, no, because it's going to be exactly like that year, that corporate tower Money in the Bank match where Otis wins it, and you're just like, what? Like, everyone obviously expected him to lose it at some point, but are we seriously going to replay that story? Is Otis going to be cashing it in to becoming your new world champion? Please don't go do that again. Like, I'd have more faith in it this time around, but no, I can't. Hey, I might be wrong. Otis might win it, and Chad Gable might take it off of him and force it off of him. I don't know, but the fact that it was mentioned Monday, and now you've just said that, just scares me half to death.
It feels a little bit frightening. I think you're getting pandemic flashbacks here. I only said in the match, I didn't say anything about winning, but hell, Otis was really over before we had the pandemic kick in. That took all of his momentum away. He's getting that momentum back, and I've got to say, he's someone that's really benefiting from Sami Zayn and Chad Gable's work right now. And if Chad was walking out the door, if he's walking out the door, and his work was to get Otis massively over on the way out, then credit, because they've done a fantastic job in doing so. But Chad Gable's sticking around for me. I don't see him going anywhere. But still, final prediction for me, Sami Zayn retains.
Yeah, unfortunately, like I said, until he signs that contract, Sami Zayn retains for me.
Absolutely, indeed. Well, let's go into some comments, because this one has got quite a few comments come flying in on it. We've got Tino, by the way, in the house. Tino, I will be joining you in about 20 minutes or so don't you worry, my friend. We'll get I've got your link, so thank you very much. But Roger says here, Chad Gable will win the ITC title when he signs his contract. Expect that to be the case. Pretty much answered when we think Chad Gable versus Otis will be. I think it will follow this on a Raw of some description. I've suggested Money in the Bank qualifier, but I won't say that again because it horrified NX Steve. But Pierre says, let's go Chad Gable this Saturday. Chad is doing the best run of his career. I have to agree fully. He's doing amazing work. We've spoken at length on this channel how great Chad Gable is right now. Booker Like a Mark says, what if Otis finally turns heel and helps Gable win the title? Gable turns around and helps Otis win Money in the Bank again. Sorry, NXT, we've mentioned Money in the Bank again and Otis, but at the same time, what if that happened? I mean, the Alpha Academy would be stronger than ever.
Yeah, sure. I mean, dude, I like Otis, how Otis is, man. He's a great baby face. Don't get me wrong, I'm probably more scared of what he'd be like as a heel, because he's terrifying as a baby face. Let's be honest, because when he turned on Sami Monday night, he looks vicious, and it could probably play out really well. But I just don't want to be in the same situation we were 4 years ago when Otis is walking around with a briefcase in the shape of a lunchbox. Do you know what I mean?
Just to clarify, because I've seen this comment come as well. I love Otis says WrestleMania UK. Let's not put this in the same sentence again. It's not something I want.
It's already out there.
But it's something I think will happen. I don't think, by the way, he's going to win it. I just think he's going to be in the match. That's what I think will happen. And I'll always say what I think will happen over what I want. But if I had to express my feelings, I agree with Nick Steve. Mex, I agree with you as well. I don't want it to happen. But I do think that Otis is getting really over. And I think it probably is manifested. And if he wins the World Heavyweight title, it's all my fault. But Channel LA Knight about to become IC and US champions. We'll have to wait and see, but it's looking good with the LA Knights at the moment. It's looking very good indeed. Hey, we'll move on in the meantime, and we're going to get to our next match, and that's going to be for the WWE Women's Championship. It's going to be Bayley defending against Piper Niven, and of course, Piper Niven is from Scotland. However, Bayley is adopted by the UK crowd, so you could say this is hometown versus hometown. Technically, when the Bayley song starts kicking in, is this the first time actually Bayley might not hear that song?
No, I don't. No, because it's a UK chant. I mean, we always do it when Bayley comes over. I'd be very surprised that we didn't. I mean, don't get me wrong; they could automatically change it and do "Hey Piper, would you be my girl?" Do you know what I mean? So, maybe that's going to happen. But there's going to be, I reckon, someone out there has already worked out a chant that iterates or combines the pair of them. Do you know what I mean?
I'm fascinated for that one. I'm fascinated for this match, by the way. I think this match is a little bit under the radar, if I'm going to be fair, for a number of reasons. I think Bayley's title run hasn't really been given the attention and love I think it deserves at this point. Obviously, Bayley's still missing off a lot of the posters and stuff like that. And she's the Royal Rumble winner this year. She's the champion. I think she deserves more going on. But Piper Niven is someone that's been under the radar for a long, long time. Someone who's been very impressive, on the UK scene. Obviously, she's done Japan as well. I think she mentioned she did Stardom. And obviously, she's gone through the ranks. The Mae Young Classic, of course, she went and said that was 2017, which made me feel really old because, yeah, that is like 7 years ago. Where is time going? But at the same time, she's been around in WWE for quite a while, and she's had a few moments here and there, but it feels like the last couple of months she's been booked really strongly for this match. And it's been nice to see she's got some promo time. Obviously, she's got Chelsea Green in her corner as well. I'm hoping that they actually get, as there's only 5 matches on this show, this has time to deliver and show what both of these ladies are all about, where hopefully it can steal the show, but I may not go that far. But I think it's going to be a good match between these two. What are your thoughts with this one? Are you looking forward to it?
I'm in sort of the same boat as you. Like, I'm hoping Piper gets to put on a decent showing, and it's always kind of been the thing that since UK disbanded, it's kind of like Piper's just sort of existed. I mean, I'm sitting there thinking about it now. I'm trying to think, what was that horrible name Piper Niven was given when she was with I can't even, Marie, what's her name? What was the redheaded bird that came back? And
Eva Marie.
And obviously Piper was given that horrible name because Vince it just exists apparently. But yeah, they've been booking her well. The fact that every time they've had a tag match, it's always Piper that's picked up the win or had to do something to get the win. And it's kind of built a bit of credibility for Piper to be in this match. But I'm in the same boat as you as well with Bayley. Since the Rumble, Bayley's like, even when it got to WrestleMania, I just felt like Bayley's stories have just been not at the forefront as probably what they should be. And it's kind of I don't know. It just feels like it's not being pushed on the card as much as it is. And the fact that we've got this, like a lot of people probably turn around and say this is only on there for the fact that Piper is Scottish, which it's a sucky thing to say, but it probably is a major part in the reason why they're doing this match. Like, I think Piper deserves a lot better than what, like you said, the fact that she's been 7 years now, and it's kind of like this is probably the highlight of her career at the minute, and that's really a shame. So. You never know. Hopefully they have a killer match and they might realise what they've been sitting on with Piper Niven. And obviously having Chelsea Green is just going to be great anyway because I love Chelsea.
Absolutely. As the guys mentioned there, by the way, Dewdrop.
Dewdrop, there we go. Thank you.
Yeah,
Oh,
okay. And that's the last time she had a title opportunity was against Becky Lynch, was a couple of rumbles ago, which was when she was under the Dewdrop name. But yeah, I mean, I do agree with everything that's been said there. I don't think this match would be happening if this wasn't in Scotland. But what I would say is that there is an opportunity to break out and to get over. And I think, to play and say that WWE using their locations well. I mean, obviously we've got Bash in Berlin later this year. I think there's a reason that's why Ludwig Kaiser was getting a bit of a push right now. I think he could be someone that could be in around the IC title picture around that time when it comes to after SummerSlam. But for them here and the now, for where we are, obviously with Bayley and Piper Niven, I think this match, like I said, I think it's gone under the radar, but I think this could be something that people will be talking about afterwards. But I think when it comes to a result, I can't look past Bayley here. And I think when I look logically, this is almost they're going to talk about this as in the same style as well. Nia Jax is waiting in the wings as well for Bayley at SummerSlam, so it's kind of similar stature of an opponent of what she would have to face and deal with Nia at SummerSlam. So I expect all that to be brought up on commentary as well. But for me, Bayley does retain here.
Yeah, I'm agreeing. I'm so say Bayley. It's a shame that you like. It's just true though. The fact that essentially Piper just is a placeholder for Nia Jax, and there's going to be a lot of Bayley needs to get used to dealing with someone of this physicality and this strength and this size, because when she ultimately has to face Nia Jax at SummerSlam, and it's a shame that Piper's having to be in this position, but hopefully give her like 15, 20 minutes and just let her wrestle, man. Like, we all know Bayley can wrestle, and for people who know Piper can wrestle, so hopefully they can have a killer match.
I hope they have a given match indeed there. Pierre, not so invested, by the way, with what Bayley's doing right now, sir, and with the story and that. And obviously, you can't be surprised with that. Like we said, she's not been given so much in the title run. But so far, probably has been the best story she's had that's been going on with Piper Niven. So, like we say, we hope it delivers. But one thing for sure, we think that Bayley will retain. Which moves us on then to one more match to talk about. It is the World Heavyweight Championship match. It is Damien Priest versus Drew McIntyre. And of course, Damien Priest cashed in Money in the Bank at WrestleMania on a vulnerable Drew McIntyre, held the title for 5 minutes and 46 seconds. Of course, one CM Punk was the reasoning for that cash-in being so successful. So interestingly enough, this match was announced at King and Queen of the Ring because they had kind of been building this up for a couple of weeks before on Raw. Drew McIntyre had to be patient to get this opportunity against Damien Priest, but now that they're here, all the talk has been about Drew obviously being in Scotland. We've been here before, Drew. We mentioned about Clash at the Castle last time. Everybody was behind you. About 60,000 of the UK strong were behind you last time. But this time, less in the crowd because it's an arena show, but they're all going to be passionate Scottish fans. So, I mean, it's going to feel loud and noisy in this place. And it's going to be exciting to see. One thing, other story beat note that we're aware of, Drew McIntyre did beat Finn Balor on Monday Night Raw to mean that the other members of the Judgment Day are not allowed at ringside. However, Damien Priest has said previously that he doesn't want Judgment Day's involvement in his title match. He was very upset at Backlash, particularly when this happened. But of course, they were a big reason why Priest retained. Doesn't mean other people can't be at ringside, though. Wink, wink.
The fact that everyone seems to think that Carlito can't be at ringside, and Carlito technically isn't a part of the Judgment Day either. There is a few names. This for me is the hardest match to call because, like you said, I've been here. I was here 2 years ago when I went to watch this match with Roman Reigns, and I was in the same boat where I'm like, I really want Drew to win, but it's Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns wins, lol. This one, there's so many things that can happen in this that I just think this is going to turn out to be an all-out mad show. Like, I'm expecting Judgment Day to get involved. I'm expecting Gallus to get involved because why not? They're Scottish. Let them get involved. It has to be. There you go. That's what I'm saying. It's just you're expecting that part from Gallus because, like, I'm expecting Gallus to come to main roster after this. You know, if it goes the way it may go, and with not my prediction at the minute, but if Drew was to win, for example, Gallus would come up. We'd then have a faction war between Judgment Day and Drew McIntyre and Gallus, and it'd be great. But yeah, this is going to be it's so hard to call, and I'm like, again, I'm in this situation where I have to go with heart over head, and I'm like, I don't know, and what do I pick? I mean, do you know what? There's even the whole point of Drew signing his contract, because if Drew didn't sign his contract, I'd have been like, yeah, he's definitely not winning. But now Drew signed his contract and be like, well, he could still not win because he signed his contract, so they don't have to give him diddly squat, so he could still walk away with that championship from the show. I'm just looking forward to purely enjoying this, because I reckon this is going to be pandemonium. I reckon there's going to be just chaos, involvement. I'm expecting just absolute craziness, man. Like, is there a stipulation? Is this like a no holds barred, or a slam in the van, or a rage in a cage, or something? Do you know what I mean? So, yeah, I'm expecting it to be screwy, but I'm just generally looking forward to it.
Yeah, I mean, I feel to myself, over the last month or however long matches have been announced, the other 4 matches I knew the prediction's not changed from minute 1 the match was announced, and the story's played out the same. This is the one match where I've kind of gone a bit backwards and forwards. I, like Temple, originally thought, doesn't stop CM Punk getting involved, I thought CM Punk would get involved in Drew's hometown. I thought that originally. I'd be doing well, Temple, by the way. Thanks for stopping by. Then I thought, well, hang on, like we said earlier on in the start of the show, well, someone's going to have to win here from Scotland on this show, because they could have a right on their hands here if no one wins. There are 3 matches now available for Scottish talent to win WWE championships. If none of them win, it's like pretty much telling them what the experience in the European Championships is going to be like. Sorry, Robbie, if you're still watching. I'm very sorry.
It's almost insane, the fact that they've booked 3 lots of Scottish superstars to wrestle on this show, because like I was never expecting Piper to win. I think like before the tag team titles were added, it was kind of like I'm expecting one or the other to win. And I think to put 3 acts on there and have none of them win, I think he's just suicidal. Like, do you remember the old territory days when like wrestlers used to get beaten up on the way out of the ring? Like the proper heels used to get beaten up by fans because, you know, it was real to them back in the day. Dude, if CM Punk gets involved in this, I very much doubt that guy would walk out of the building. He would be stretchered out because the fans will go crazy. I don't think WWE are prepared for what Scottish fans are willing to do if someone or anyone doesn't win on this show.
It will be interesting. This is why I feel like someone needs to win, and this is why I've kind of got these different ideas of why it could happen, because Damian Priest's title run has been fine for me, but at the moment I wouldn't be upset if he lost the title here and we can progress the Judgment Day storyline with him without the title, because I think then that's when you start more friction with the Judgment Day. It's not about, you know, Liv Morgan trying to displace Rhea Ripley. It could also be the fact that Carlito could be trying to edge out Damian Priest, because Priest wasn't happy that he was there, and obviously Carlito was welcome with the other members of the group, so you've got something to work with. Damian Priest doesn't need that world title, but some would say that McIntyre doesn't need it either, because maybe it makes more sense for, well, Mr. Hypocrite himself, Drew McIntyre, to win Money in the Bank, because he's upset everyone has to cash in on him, and he thinks it's a cheap way to do so. Well, if he wins it and does it himself, actually makes a lot of sense. Then he wins the world title that way, but then he doesn't get to do it in Scotland in front of his fans. To do that twice, and we've done this before, to do it twice is criminal. The other thing that they could do, because we've seen CM Punk's name mentioned here about how we could cost Drew McIntyre. What if Drew was to win and, well, he ends up blowing a kiss in the crowd, because obviously he's going to be the hot babyface there, not the heel. It's going to be like Chicago Money in the Bank 2011. If Drew was to blow a kiss to, say, the Judgment Day members that want to flee the ring to him afterwards, that could be a fun way to book it, surely, with the way he kisses and goes away to the crowd with the title.
I imagine he's going to do that anyway. I'm pretty sure his wife's going to be sitting ringside, and he's going to do a little tweet like he did at Mania. Like, it'll be great. But there's even the fact that even this could be the point where the Judgment Day turn on Priest. Because I'm sorry, but that promo Priest cut on Monday is the biggest middle finger to the rest of the Judgment Day. I don't need this. This isn't Judgment Day's title. This is my title. I can win this title. I can defend this title without the Judgment Day. I'm sorry. At some point, someone in that group has got to snap and just turn on Priest. And I think we've mentioned it or talked about it before. The fact that maybe Priest is replaced by McIntyre in Judgment Day. Maybe that could happen this weekend. There is so much that could happen this weekend. Yeah, I'm just hoping that I'm not going to be let down. That's I'm expecting this to be a great show, and I just don't want to set my standards high and be disappointed. And like you said, we was here 2 years ago. The same thing with Cardiff, and it's kind of to not have I know I picked the tag team champions to win, but like I said, that's do you know what I mean? What if they don't, and then what you get to the main event and not one Scottish person has won a title? It's almost suicide. The fact that if they'd have just had McIntyre on the show fighting for a title and had no other Scottish superstars, it would have been okay. It's not going to be as bad. But if you get to the main event and Piper or the tag champs or tag team haven't won those titles, dude, that crowd is going to be electric. They're going to be raging and they're going to expect McIntyre to walk away with it. And can you imagine what that crowd will be like if Priest retains? It will be a nightmare.
It'll be NWO feeling, wouldn't it? Back in the 90s. That'll be how it will feel.
Hogan comes out.
Absolutely. But I mean, seriously though, as a last sort of bit, originally I thought if Drew had won the title, I didn't think he'd be holding it long because I thought he'd get cashed in on again at Money in the Bank. I don't see him and Punk for the title. I just don't see that happening. But a part of me feels, and again, I'm here now, my head's telling me one thing, but it's also telling me another thing because, like you said, the fans have to go home happy in some way. I mean, Mex has got a comment here for us now. It's a great comment as well. Scottish talents need to win. After all, Welsh talents were sacked before Clash 2022. Emma was sacked before Elimination Chamber this year. Scott's on the card is great compared to that. Absolutely is, but I think they're gonna want to see someone win. And to be honest, I feel the only realistic one is Drew winning the title. I actually think, to be fair, even if something happens earlier in the show and Drew loses again, I think this is the thing that's going to actually upset a lot of people. So I don't know, but my head says CM Punk returns and costs McIntyre this match, and that Priest retains. But for the sakes of this, I'm gonna say that Scotland needs a win, and I think Drew will win the title. I think it could be more interesting just because of the fact that Priest then can have his other problems with the Judgment Day. So I will say Drew wins, but I actually think the contrary.
I'm sort of looking at the future, and I'm like, okay, well, if Drew doesn't win, okay, what does Damien do? Maybe at some point they split Judgment Day up. Maybe he fights Finn for the title, whatever. And then, like you said, Drew can then go on win Money in the Bank. Maybe that's an option for him. But the biggest factor for me is that it's in Scotland, and we didn't get it 2 years ago. If we'd have got this in Cardiff 2 years ago, I would probably be turning around and saying the same thing, that Drew isn't winning here. But the fact that we didn't get it in Cardiff, and more likely than not, that no other Scottish superstar is going to win a title this weekend. As much as it pains me to say it, and I'm probably wrong, but I'm also going to say Drew wins here. I think it would be suicide for them to not pull the trigger on a UK crowd seeing a World Championship title change, especially when the person winning it is from the location you're wrestling in.
Absolutely. So we are going for Drew to win this. As Max said at the start of this, is it a spoiler or a prediction video? Technically, you could say spoiler, but my head does.
I'll be honest with you. At the start of the show, I had Drew losing. I had Piper losing, Drew losing, and I had the tag team champions. And I was like, that's how you get out of jail, is you have the tag team titles swap hands. But there's too much, if you looked at that card and said to me, who more than likely will still be within the company within the next 3, 4, 5 years, it's more likely going to be Drew McIntyre. And how many more times is he going to get to wrestle in Scotland for a world title? And I think it has to be done it has to be this weekend that they pull the trigger.
Absolutely. I feel the same. I feel the same, but now that I see CM Punk's name again, I almost want to flip, but I will stick with Drew McIntyre as the prediction. Like I said, though, I've gone with heart over head. You know what the head
Yeah,
prediction
same
is.
there.
I've gone with the heart prediction for the
Yeah.
viewer. But CM Punk, if he did show up, or will he? I suppose that's the question I'm going to ask. Will he show up? I guess if Drew wins, no, he doesn't. If he shows up, then Drew loses. But if CM Punk was to show up in Glasgow, I mean, that's where a lot of that heel attention is going to be, and you could see CM Punk reveling in that in the ring, couldn't you, at the end there? But chances of it happening?
I mean, I think it could happen just because it would be from a numbers point of view and just how many eyes you're going to get on the product and like the outrage and the scene and the YouTube clicks and stuff like that. From a media standpoint, having Drew there will be fantastic. It just depends on how they want Punk to be portrayed, I think, going forward, because he kind of is this weird tweener that he's done before. But if you put him in Scotland and he inevitably costs Drew that world championship, he's going to get booed at the building hard. And then the problem you're going to have is you're going to bring him back to the States and he's going to be cheered again. And it's a really strange dynamic that you have to play really carefully and wonder if and what they want to do, because they're in the States every week. Do you know what I mean? It's only pay-per-views that they leave the country for, and going to Scotland just to do one angle, I don't know, it's hard to call. And like I said, he probably will be there just because, like I said, analytics and YouTube clicks and Instagram and X reposts and all that kind of stuff. It will probably do numbers for that alone.
Absolutely. Well, all I'm going to say is back in the noughties, it was always Bizarro land when they were in Canada because it was always different to what they wanted. So they've always got their
Very
way
true.
ins and outs of how they want to do with the certain angles for certain shows. However, I will leave this last note and then we're going to wrap things up. Do you remember CM Punk's interview with Era Hawani before WrestleMania? And he mentioned that he felt it was near enough good to go for wrestling. And he mentioned as well that some shows had not been announced yet in the summer that he could be available for. And he was kind of hinting it felt like there could be a show in the UK for Drew McIntyre at that point. And the fact we have this show here, it just makes me think he could show up in some way. But again, that's the head talking rather than the heart.
Yeah. Because the only other thing I'm thinking is that maybe Punk wins Money in the Bank, and he becomes Drew McIntyre's biggest headache, because he knows that Punk's just going to be walking around with this briefcase, and at any time he could cash in on him. I would look forward to that just from the story perspective, because it's always a great way to use a Money in the Bank contract. And I think if he's already been Drew's biggest pain in his backside for the last 6 months, why not give Punk that briefcase then and make him Drew's pain in the ass for the next year, because he'll have a whole calendar year to cash that thing in on. So maybe Priest wins, Punk wins Money in the Bank, Drew finally gets that title, and then Priest catches in on McIntyre again within 5 minutes again of him winning the title. Hey, why not? Do you know what I mean? It's kind of crazy, I know, but there's so much to come from this one match alone that will just they can set up so much from now until Mania with this one match.
They certainly can, and probably we'll start with building up to SummerSlam. And I think this is we've had a lot of our takes, and I think what you said, you've heard our head predictions, our heart predictions. We've gone with our hearts here, I suppose, with the final pick. But we now want to know your picks for those that are watching on delay in the comments below. Who you think will be winning this one? If it will be Drew McIntyre, if it will be Damian Priest. But for everyone that's been watching live and been involved in the comments, thank you all so much. Hope you've enjoyed this podcast, this live stream. If you're on the YouTube side, make sure the like button. It obviously really helps the channel out. It sounds silly to say every time, but it really does help and helps it grow. Subscribe as well, very close to the next milestone, which is 2,400, only 6 subscribers away. So if you're on the Twitter side, the X side right now, hop over to the YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, and you've got a whole library of content you could be checking out in the meantime as well that is available to you. There are thousands of videos on this channel that are updated regularly as well. For those watching as well, because there's 66 of you watching currently, just to let you know as well, there will be a review later in the week, but it will not be on Saturday, it will be on Sunday. So make sure to check back in on Sunday if you want to hear us review Clash at the Castle Scotland. We can go mad on how crazy the show went, especially with the finish to McIntyre and Priest. But that's all from us anyway. NXT, thank you for being a part of this. As always great to have you on board.
Dude, always a pleasure. I look forward to talking to you on Sunday. Inevitably, when I probably will turn around and be like, again, I'm fooled, and let my heart do the judgment over my head once again.
Absolutely, and probably the same for me as well. It's going to be a fun time. But yeah, if you're watching on the XL as well, make sure to do the retweet as well. For those that come in and watch on delay, it really does help spread the word of the channel as well on that side. And you can also like the tweet as well. Any fit support is always very well and truly we're thankful. We're grateful for your support. So thanks all for watching the card yourselves, and check out some videos on the channel on YouTube in the meantime. Particularly, you can watch some NXT versus TNA Dream Cards. That's available for you right now. And of course, there is WWE content as well, including talking about Liv Morgan and Dominic Mysterio. Take care. Thanks for watching. See you next time.